Welcome to Second Lap. It's Gramps, your host. It's Happy Wednesday. It's morning time here still. Wanted to welcome you to the show. As an intro, we usually just kick off why are you here? We are tracking my walking of the second lap around the circumference of the Earth. So I just hit 37,686 miles on my feet. And yeah, when I say that, sometimes it sounds like it sounds like a lot, and it sounds like I need more friends. And at the same time, I'm being completely funny. It's changed my life. It's been great. Today, I was going to talk. We're in the sort of the intro, as we're calling it, about protein. Like we hear a lot of hype about protein. You know what are we supposed to believe about protein? I'm over 50, so I remember the food triangle and being told for years that I needed to eat all this extra grain that was really technically not good for me. And so, what am I supposed to do to, sort of believe the hype? I've been, oh, and I believe they're not all equal. So say that out loud. I've been, protein subsidizing, or however you say it, supplementing for a couple of months now. I haven't noticed any, major changes in my life. My skin hasn't turned a different color or, nothing. I'm not walking different. I feel like when I'm lifting weights, like I'm in a good place. I feel my recovery, because we are working out every other day. My recovery is good. I do feel sore, but I do feel like the protein. At some point, I'm manifesting that the protein is helping me to maintain muscles, which is the thing that we'll lose as we get older. So, but I was going to say I've tried a couple of proteins now. I use the Jocko one mostly. Like any man, I ran out and didn't remember to go get any, and so I ended up just running down to the store and I got a different, boutique brand, and it's peanut butter chocolate. So they were trying to get me with the Hershey's peanut butter cups. What's good about your chocolate and my peanut butter? It's a little bit gritty. It's not the same as the other kind that I've had in the past. So, try them out. Make sure that you get one that you like, that you are going to be, drinking that on a daily basis. But that was all I was going to talk about. We are welcomed, or well, we are welcomed. I am welcoming Gabe Peterson. He was on the podcast about 11 months ago, and he's allowed himself to return to the podcast. Welcome, Gabe.
11 months.
Yeah, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but I went back and the beauty of technology, I looked it up and I'm like, okay, yeah, I think he's run at least 3 or 4 races in that period of time that we can talk about, but I don't know how many races have you run in this past 11 months?
Yeah, actually, for me, this has been relatively quiet. I'm still getting used to you calling yourself Gramps because in my head it's like 30 years ago and we're on the flight deck of the Kitty Hawk. But then I look and see my own image of like, hey, who's this dude with gray hair? um,
I tell
yeah,
everybody
so
I'm 17 until I look in the mirror.
yeah, time can't outrun time, that's for sure.
No.
You can try. That's what
You
that's
can
what I
try.
told.
And
I'm
you
trying.
are trying. You are trying.
Yeah.
So I know you've run at least one, right?
Yeah, so let's see. So we talked right after I did the Arizona Monster 300-mile race, which was pretty epic. That was definitely distance-wise the farthest I've run, and that one probably the races I've done in the U.S. probably took me closest to the edge. If folks
Okay.
watched my YouTube movie, they saw that at one point I ended up just kind of involuntarily passing out on the side of the trail at night, waking up disoriented. I had no idea where I was or why I was there.
I
It was like
remember that
night
from the last
4.
podcast. You talked about it where you actually had to call your wife and say, hey, operator, chase this call. Can you tell me where I'm
Yeah.
at? Kind of thing.
Where am I? What am I doing? Oh, I'm in the middle of a race. How far to the
Uh,
next aid station? It was like 10 miles. I was like, oh, that seems like a long way. And it's like 250 miles in. It's like, well, you don't have any choice. You just have to get there at least. So, once I started moving, like everything came back. But I think just but I think that was night 4. It ended up being 5 nights. And just by night 4, my brain just kind of shut down. It was just like, nope, that's it.
I'm bad after like 24 hours. I can't even fathom, getting past 72 hours and still functioning.
It's amazing. It's amazing that what the human body is capable of. I always my half joke is, I'm just an ordinary middle-aged dude doing kind of insane things. Although I'm pushing the high end of the middle age bracket now, at 52. Um, but yeah, to your question, the last 11 months after we talked, I got into Western States 100, which
Okay.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
um, which is ultra running. They call it like the Super Bowl of 100s. It took me, I think, 8 years to finally get in.
Via
Um,
lottery.
Yeah, it's a lottery, and the more
Okay.
years you apply, the more tickets you get. So I was on the wait list, and I found out about a month before the race that I was finally going to get in. I'd been training, assuming that I was going to get in, um, and so that was pretty epic because a lot of times ultras are pretty low key. You know, you're out there on the trails, and like the locals don't even know there's a race, so they see
Right.
you and you look. It's like day 2, and you look like some homeless guy stumbling down the trail, and they're like,
But you
"What are
got
you
a number on your
doing?"
chest, right?
Yeah, you have the bib, but they're like,
Okay.
what's going on here?" And you're like, "There's a race here," and there's a race. Like they haven't even heard of a race like going through their town.
That's
Whereas
crazy.
Western States is like it's like the Boston Marathon. Like uh, there's a wait list to volunteer, so there's so much like spectator support, where like you go into an aid station and you have your own personal volunteer who meets you at the beginning of the aid station, and then they walk with you through the whole aid station and take care of everything for you and make sure, because usually you walk in and there's like 2 volunteers and you're like,
Right.
"Hey,
Right.
can you help me? I need help." And they're like, "Well, I'm helping someone else." So you just like start doing it yourself.
Right.
There I like grabbed a bottle of water or something, and they're like, "Oh, no, we'll do that." Like, okay. So and then the finish, when you come into Auburn around the Placer High track, that last mile is probably like the best mile of any race. There's people lining the street, lining the track, just cheering. Like I was like in the middle of the pack. I had a pretty bad race. I had some breathing issues, but I was like, I'm not going to quit because like it'll take me like 10 years to get back here.
Right.
So I was not winning this race at all, but people are cheering like I was, like I was, like I just podiumed or something. Or you felt like it was so amazing.
Was it the most, I guess, animated race you've been in then?
I would say ultra. You're probably like uh, the Boston Marathon is kind of like that last mile, but almost from like mile 2, there's just people lining the streets screaming at
Sure.
you the whole way.
Right.
Um, and the race I did in Italy, Tour de France, which is 200 plus miles in the Italian Alps. Like in Italy, alpinism, they take it very serious. So people would hike out to these mountain passes, and they'd have like bells, and they're cheering for you,
Right.
which that was cool. But in the U.S., just like ultra is still kind of a niche sport, although it's gaining a lot of popularity.
It
Uh,
seems like it has gained a lot of popularity. That's what I was going to say. And I don't know if I blame Goggins or Jesse Ixler or, any of these guys that do it, Cam Haynes. I'm trying to think of, all the guys that I watch that promote this behavior. You know what I mean? And they still
yeah,
do feel, as you said, niche, but it does feel like, I don't know. I was going to ask you, that was one of those things. So we're on the upper end. I'm 54 this year. I keep calling myself that already. I still do have a few weeks. So I'm 53 still. So we're on the upper end of that bracket. So I was going to ask you a couple things about sort of, hey, and we can get to it, like how you see the future. If you're a youth, and I have quite a few people that are going to see this streaming live that I'm, friends with that say they're 26 and just out of college or whatever, and they get the bug. Like they decide, hey, I decided I want to go run until I crap myself. And I'm sorry. I was trying to be funny
Who
and it,
wouldn't want to do that? That sounds
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. I was gonna say there's yeah, anyways. And but I want to go do this thing, right? I want to thanks. Thanks, Ronnie. I want to go do this thing because I've heard, that you really don't know what you don't know. And you need to go, and I think I ask you questions and I think you do a brilliant job of talking about what it's like and go through. But for somebody to really experience it, they got to do it themselves. So I'll stop talking. How does somebody get into this?
Yeah, it was for me. It was kind of an indirect route. A lot of this started. I mean, we ran in the Navy, but you might
Right,
remember I could pass the PT test in the Navy, but I was not the guy killing it on the run. I was not like a high school track runner. When I got out of the Navy, went to college, I just ran just for general fitness. I was not like
right,
part of the track team. I was not like a star runner. I kept running most of my adult life. Mostly just to like try to control weight. I would sign up for the occasional marathon, mostly when I felt like I was getting overweight. I was like, oh, if I do the training for a marathon, I'll drop like 15 pounds.
right.
Um, and it was not not running competitive marathons. It's just like the goal is to like finish in like 4.5, 5 hours, and
Okay.
have a good time. But then when I turned 40, that was kind of where I don't know if there's a singular moment, but I just decided like it's only going to get harder the longer I wait. I'd read books um, like Scott Jurek's book about races like Badwater.
Right.
Dreamed like, hey, one day I could be one of those guys who does something like Badwater. It sounded insane to me, but I said, well, for my 40th birthday, I'm just going to do like a half Ironman, that sounded insane. Like I hadn't ridden a bike in 20 years. I was running, so I had that going for me. And then I
Right.
thought I could swim, but what I discovered is I could just not die in the water for a very long time. That's what they taught us in the Navy, not to actually freestyle swim.
Right. I was gonna
And
say
so
we
that kind
weren't
of led
being
to like the next thing.
right. I
Sorry,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I was just gonna say they did not teach us how to competitive swim. No, they were
No.
teaching us how to tie our dungarees and use them as a flotation device and tread water.
Yeah, how to float for a very long time and hope for rescue.
Right.
And so that led to an Ironman, and then along the way I read Born to Run, and I was like, well, I did an Ironman, I could do an ultra, and that just started with 50K, and then that led to a 50 miler, that led to a 100 miler, that led to a 200 miler, I did a 300 miler, and so it was kind of a gradual progression. But anyone starting out, I mean, I would say ultra is a very accessible sport. I've done like something like cycling sometimes can be, they jokingly have like they call them the rules of cycling, like the kit you're
Right.
supposed to wear. And if you show up and your kit doesn't match the other cyclists, are like, dude, that's Fred. A trail running, no one is ever gonna say like, "Hey, your kit doesn't look right." You could show up wearing anything. It's a very welcoming group, and
Okay.
you'll get people of all different speeds. You get the really competitive people up at the front pushing hard, but you get people who are doing what's called party pacing, which
Okay.
is just like what it sounds like. They're out there having fun. So there's some running, there's some hiking, there's a lot of long stops at aid stations, and their goal is just to finish the race and have a good time. And I think that's one thing it kind of tells you about what ultras are like is the person who comes in last. It's called the DFL, the dead effing last.
Okay.
They're actually more of a celebrity than usually the person who won the race. Like they like becoming like an internet celebrity of some of these big races. Um,
Okay.
so that tells you kind of how accessible ultras are. I mean, I would just say if you want to get started, just start running and hiking as much as you can. Find a local 50K. Um, usually the cutoffs are pretty generous. Like you might have like 8 or 9 hours, which you could run hike that.
Okay.
It might be miserable at some point, but go out
Are
and
you
just go.
doing are you doing things other than just running to prep? Are you doing weight room exercising and other things to build lung capacity? I'm just trying to think outside. Like, what other things could you do other than just run 40 miles?
Yeah, I mean, if you're new to running, you know, that's the period usually people get injured because they've gone from like the couch to all of a sudden they start running, and that puts a lot of it's a lot of pounding on your bones, joints, ligaments, you know, connective tissue.
Right,
Um, I usually recommend like if you're literally coming from the couch, start with like running once or twice a week, but then the other days, just do what you're doing. Go for a walk, you know, at a brisk pace as fast as you can walk.
right,
Um, or if you do another sport like cycling, that can be pretty good cross training. It'll definitely build up your aerobic fitness.
right,
And I think strength training for ultras is super important. You'll notice like if you go to the finish line of an ultra, especially the longer it goes, like a 200, the people who finish look a lot more like Goggins than an Ethiopian or
right,
a
right, right,
East African marathon runner. So people kind of expect that like runners have that marathoner build, and most marathoners don't actually have that. It's just the people at the front end because they're trying to get like that extra 1%, and so by not
right.
carrying a bunch of upper body mass, they get like 1% faster. Like
Sure.
so, if your goal is not to be 1% faster, don't make that trade off because it's not great for you know your long term health. So yeah, I do strength training, but it's mostly focused on like functional training. You know, like that old school stuff we were doing back in the Navy, push ups, pull ups, squats,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
all that you know all that stuff. Not you know the goal is not to like build mass because you kind of have to pick. You're an endurance athlete or a bodybuilder. Some people can manage to do both, but not many.
I was gonna say that I don't see people doing both well based on what you just said. Like, hey, if I'm having to carry a 3 month old or a couple of, you know what I mean, extra body weight with me, that could slow me down tremendously.
Yeah, but you'll see like the mountain runner build are you know they're usually bigger, bigger, bigger people, stronger because
Right.
it takes full body physical strength. You're carrying a pack that can weigh up to like 15 pounds. If
Right.
you have to do like a long water carry, you're climbing up the side of a mountain where you're probably at least using poles. So you're using your upper
Yep.
body, and you may actually, if it's steep enough, you're actually grabbing rocks and pulling yourself up. So it takes like total, I think, total body fitness and strength. So if you're getting started, I would, you know, my recommendation would be start with like if you're running twice a week, maybe add one more run and then do that for a month or two, and then add another run and just slowly increase the running miles. Is it you're that's where you're at the risk of like the highest risk of injury is you just don't have that durability to put in those miles. And look at it as a kind of a long term project. But you should
Right.
be the other days you're either going for a brisk walk, um, or you're cycling or doing something like that that's kind of cross training, and then definitely doing strength training like 2 or 3 times a week. Uh,
Good tennis. Okay.
you probably you know, I used to do like the like 2 hour gym sessions, then you're wrecked the next day. Now they're shorter. They're like 20 to 30 minutes where I hit like a bunch of functional exercises. Um, and I just have like little things like if I ever pass a pull-up bar, I have to stop and do pull-ups no matter like if I'm dressed in work clothes, I'm gonna do some pull-ups. So I have a pull-up bar
Always.
outside our house, and every time I go out there by the pool, I'm like, oh, there's a pull-up bar. I gotta pay my tax, do some pull-ups.
Always. Like that's
Yeah.
100%. Okay. Well, good for
Yeah,
you.
just the little things like that. Just I mean, I cannot do as many pull-ups as I could, you know, 10, 15 years ago, but I could still do pull-ups, which I don't know, most 52-year-olds probably struggle with stuff like that.
We're working on 30-second dead hangs where we just hold our body weight up. And I've gotten to where I've done a minute, but I'm not doing a bunch of pull-ups. I have a semi-wrecked shoulder. They told me I was going to need a shoulder replacement, and
Oh yeah, there's
I've had yeah. So I've had injections, and I've had was it platelet-rich plasma (PRP) injections, and I think I'm going to give it a stem cell next because my chiropractor is a stem cell guy, and I want. And I don't know if you're this way. I want everything I can to not be cut ever again. You know, I've had enough surgeries, enough times they've gone in me that I hold on a second, we're live. You still see me? Yeah.
yeah, you I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, it's weird. I have my phone on do not disturb because we are this live program and it was ringing through. So hopefully I'm not being told by my agent that I need to sell. And yes, it is the Beauty Live TV. What were we talking about? What
Oh,
were
just
we?
like the general fitness, and yeah, the pull-ups can be hard on the shoulders. So like when I
Yes.
feel I'll do as I get older, I do a lot more chin-ups than pull-ups. That's
Okay.
not as hard on
Okay.
the shoulders. Yeah, I mean, my just goals. I want to keep doing this as long as I can. I had a really good streak from like 2018 to recently of not really getting injured. And then this year, finally, an injury caught up with me. Piriformis syndrome, which is the piriformis muscle, is this little muscle in your hip that basically rotates your leg out. Um,
Okay.
and I guess it's a common injury for runners because the rest of your muscles become so powerful they kind of overpower that little muscle. And when it gets strained, it sits right on the sciatic nerve, so it just shoots pain down your leg. It's um, so I was going to do Arrowhead 135 earlier this year in January, which is a 135 miles Arctic race. You drag a 40-pound sled in the snow.
Oh
And I think
man.
all the training dragging a tire just must have strained that piriformis. And like 2 weeks before the race, I was like, I can barely walk without like massive pain. So I ended up having to defer that race. I'll get to it. It's still one of the races on my bucket list, so I'll get to it.
Okay.
Um, and so I was like, oh, well, maybe this will be nice. Like, I've been doing this for a while now, like 8 years of just nonstop. Like, it'll be nice to take a break. And maybe I'll feel like I won't, I'll feel great. Everyone's always like, take a break, you'll feel great. I felt like shit.
Okay.
I was like, I have to keep doing this. I cannot stop, which is gonna like, man, when the day when I have to stop, I don't know how that's gonna be. That's gonna be like an existential moment for me.
Right.
So rehabbed it. It still kind of hurts, but it's like I have to keep doing this. Like there's some drive now that I just can't voluntarily stop.
Well, that's the way it is for me in walking. Like, and I make jokes about it, and I've watched myself on other podcasts talking about it. You know, the Snickers commercial where they show the person and hey, need you to Snickers. I'm that way with walking. Like it's so ingrained in me. It's so necessary to me that I just I have to go out and do it. And it's mental. It allows my brain to be, you know, focused on I'm stepping over a crack here and I'm trying not to walk into a
Yeah.
tree and I'm doing these other things. And at the same time, I'm having a conversation with you. So it allows me to function. And I can't, yeah, I was gonna say, I can't imagine you stopping. And I know yours, it's different. You're on a different level and doing things that are harder. Is that, as you said, do you have a, hey, I feel like at 70, I'm not going to want to do this and it's going to be purely just because of pain?
Um, no, my plan is to keep going until the wheels come off.
Okay.
um, if at some point, you don't. There are some 70-year-olds out there doing ultras,
You
but
see a few of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a few, and I'm hoping I'm that dude. Um, if not, then I'll still do something. I mean, what you're doing right now is like one of the best things you can do is walk. Um, that's why my recommendation is always like, even training fairly high mileage, I still will do some of my training is hiking, um, just because like there are days where you're just beat up and like more running is not going to help. And so like, all right,
Right.
and instead of running those miles, I just go hike those miles. Like, I mean, I hike, I'll hike it pretty fast, like at 4 miles per hour. Um,
Okay.
but like in a 200-mile race, you're going to hike at some point. And so if you can become a really efficient hiker, then it's like money in the bank that you just drop into that 4 mile per hour hike. Um, Whereas most people walk at about like 3 miles per hour. So you can just like, hey, it's super hot and I can't run. I'll just hike 4 miles
Right.
per
Right.
hour until it cools down, and then I'll start running again. So I think walking is amazing. So when I can't run, I mean, my plan is, I would be out there like walking and backpacking, or I prefer more the fast packing style. But maybe as I get older, I'll want to carry more luxuries. But just going out in the mountains with a very light pack, just enough to like a ultralight tent, like a 1 pound tent.
Right.
um, that's just amazing. You don't have to run to do that. And then I enjoy cycling too, and that's one of those things that people can do, into their 70s. So I'll keep doing something as long as I can.
No, and I like that. I hear, most of the secret is making the habit such that your body decides that you can't live without it. Like
Yeah.
that's what I hear you saying. I'm mirroring. That's what I hear you saying, and that's how I feel like I've done the same thing with me. It's like even when hey, I just want to sit here for a minute or whatever. It's like I still put the shoes on. I still take the time and I still get my, water bottle ready and I still have my electrolyte. Excuse me. And I go through that process. And sometimes I've heard David Goggins talk about how he looks at his shoes sometimes for 30 minutes before he puts them MFers on. And it's like I can relate to that. And at the same time, I need it. So are you in your style, because of what I'm hearing, are you doing sort of an on off, I'm training and now I'm not training, or are you changing your lifestyle, especially because sort of we're on the other side of that curve? Are you just, hey, I'm in a constant state of I want to just always be ready? Like what are
uh,
your goals?
yeah, I'm pretty much always training. Sometimes at different levels, but my goal is, you could say, hey, next week there's a 100-mile race. Would you like to do it? And like, okay, yeah, a week. That gives me enough time to like taper and rest a little bit. I'll go run that 100-mile race a week from now. Like, no other prep. Um, that's kind of my goal. I might not be super fast at the 100-mile race, but like I could go and make it through the race and have a respectable finish. That's kind of where I've been at for the last probably 10 years. Um,
How
so
much time is that? Is that a 25-hour race? Is that a 24 hours? I'm doing the 4 mile per hour, but I know you're running other times. Or is it a
yeah, it depends on the if it's more, like a runnable flatter race, it's
okay?
gonna be more like 24-ish.
Okay.
If it's like a super technical mountain race, something like the Wasatch 100, that can be like 30 plus hours, because it's just
Okay.
a ton of vertical, 25,000 feet of vertical, lots of technical downhills. So even those are, you're not, if you're running, you're not running fast because you're like jumping
Right.
over rocks and everything. So it depends. I kind of try to, I'll do any kind of race, like a road race, mountain race. I do prefer the mountains, but I
Okay.
will kind of take on anything. But yeah, my like you were saying, like, my outlook is, I've almost never regretted or going out for a run. I could think of like 4 or 5 times in the last decade where I went out for a run and I was like, man, that was a bad idea. But a lot of times where I was like, I really don't want to run today, but I'm just going to go do it. And then like 2 miles in, I'm like, I feel amazing. This is great. Probably have the same thing. Have you ever regretted going for a walk where you're like, that was a bad idea?
The only time I was going to say when you said regretting, I was like, I know I've never regretted. I've had a broken toe where it was broken long ways versus, across, and it was very painful. I've, done some damage to the bottom of my foot because I really do prefer either flip flops or being barefoot as opposed to running shoes. I mean, I'm
Uh,
either in running shoes or I'm barefoot. That's the only options really. And so I've had during the circumference of the earth, hey, I've only got so much and I have to do 84 miles a week and I had a program. Yeah, there were times like, man, you have a cut on the bottom of your foot or your toe is like literally I got nauseous from the pain from when I broke my toe. And then I had to walk 84 miles a week on a broken toe. And I was still better for it. Like I was gonna say, I couldn't say the word regret. It just, I would have wanted, the older me or the younger me prior. I would have wanted, some sympathy and hey, let me sit here and watch a little TV with my foot elevated. And the goal that I was after didn't allow me to have that luxury. And I think we were talking maybe earlier, we're just so much more capable than we want to give ourselves credit for and other people want to give us credit for. And so I just allowed it to do that for me. It's like, I'm walking on a broken toe. like, like literally, and I'm still doing it. So
yeah, and probably was actually good for you to walk on that toe. Probably helped it heal. Like the few the injuries I have had, like a sprained ankle. I was out there running on a sprained ankle, and doctors they were like, "Oh, let's put a cast on that." And no way, because I'm not gonna be able to run. But you go talk to a PT, and they're like, "It was probably a good thing that if you ran with that sprained ankle, like it probably healed a lot faster than if you had just done nothing."
yeah,
So
yes, I was gonna say, were you doing anything to support it? Were you taping it or anything?
I would usually like tape it, and I was very careful about how I ran. So I would, make
Okay,
sure like the ankle didn't move side to side. So if I had to just
sure.
stop and like walk, I did. But I
Okay,
got out there and it was painful. I mean, it hurt, but it like the when I sprained my ankle, I went from like a high ankle sprain, like the purple ankle, where the doctor was like, let's put a cast on this for like 6 weeks. And I was like, no way, man.
no.
I'm not doing that. Um, and I went to a sports PT. They worked it over. It was agony, but like 2 weeks later, I was out there running again. Like, um, it hurt, but I just kept going through. I mean, if I had one message for folks, it would be like the Leadville 100, the founder, that King Clover is famous. He was in Born to Run for saying, "You can do more. You're better than you think you are. You can do more than you think you can." And he's right. Like every human is capable of doing this. Well, I'll say almost every human is capable of doing this. This is human superpowers, is movement. This is what we're designed to do, is to move very efficiently. And
Yeah,
so it's not like I said, I was not like the track star in the Navy. Um, and I was able, so if I can do this, I think most people can do this. Now, respecting there are people with legitimate like physical disabilities, but most physically capable people can do this. Um, and they would probably be amazed at once they started down that road of how much they enjoy it, how much it becomes like part of their life. I get asked all the time, like, why do you do this? And in my head, I'm not saying it out loud because it's kind of rude. I'm like, why are you not doing it? Is my thought. Like I'm trying to like they think I'm crazy, but I think they're crazy. Like
yeah.
this is what humans are supposed to do. We are literally born to run.
I agree with you 1,000%. I have people, as I said, they look at me weird. I go to a grocery store. I park as far away from the store as I can, so I get the extra steps walking in. There's a grocery store 3/4 of a mile from the house. If for some reason we've forgotten something, and I've carried a
Uh,
couple of jugs of tea and other things, but I'll go walk to the store and walk back. Like you said, we are so much more capable, and it's almost like we, I don't know, cater to being carried around on a platform kind of a thing, is that's the way to do it. It's like, no, the people that, are physically, you're right. I think we're born. You can go back and look at the people that were in the Colosseum and, fighting the lions and all the different things that we've done, us conquering, you know, animals in the food chain that definitely are stronger than we are. We we are supposed to move. You're right. And I'm excited that you got the bug. I'm excited that I got the bug. Both of us got the bug in our 40s. I I I would love to figure out how to, and I guess that's why we're doing this podcast and we talk about it, how to get those in their youth that are still, drinking the Kool-Aid and, staying out and partying and doing the things that they think we want to do because we're restricted from doing it. It's just weird, the loops that we go through from youth to adult to realizing that we have one body and one life and we want to maximize what we do. And it seems like that's the kind of a 40-year-old epiphany. And I wish that we could convince people in their 20s.
yeah, I mean, see a lot of younger folks getting involved in ultras now. For a long, yeah, when I started, it was definitely the demographic was 40 plus, um, and but it is shifted quite a bit just in recent years. I mean, these races that used to be kind of obscure, like the year I did Moab 240, it's actually
Right?
Goggins there. I beat Goggins.
You did. That was when he did DNF'd, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
DNF'd. But you could just walk up that day and just sign up. Like they had spots, and now it's
Right.
like a lottery. It's super hard. It's super hard to get into that race, just because it's there's so many people excited about it, which I would have never thought. I would have thought 200s, 200-mile runners are like the ultras. Other ultra runners think are kind of crazy.
Okay.
Like like the people do like 50Ks and 50 milers. They think like the 200-mile ultra runners. So like you have people are going from they had never run in their life to like a year later they're finishing a race like Moab 240. I don't personally recommend that. I think enjoy the journey of building up, because I
Right.
gotta imagine a 200's hard when you've spent years building towards that, but when you just go from like the couch to 200, there's probably some real agony there. But hey, if you want to do like a good suffer fest, then why not?
Yeah, I was going to say that does sound non-desirable. When you're looking at your racing now and at the level you are into your 50s and you wanting to do this long term, and we've talked about, hey, I've had an injury now and I don't want to do that. What are your goals? Are your goals, hey, I want to have a speed of which I maybe was a little bit above last time I did it because I've gotten a little bit older and I'm trying to give myself some grace. I mean, how do you, as you're looking at your purpose and your existence, and this is your, as I see your identity, what, what do you see as your goals? Just completing?
Yeah, I mean, the last few years I've been mostly competing with myself. Like, can I get better? And I've consistently gotten better, consistently gotten faster
Okay.
each year. Um, Now I would say probably the injury, like talking with my coach, I'm like the goal shifts a little bit from like finding out how much faster I can get to like I want longevity. um, so if that means I'm a little slower in some of these races, that's fine because I'd rather be doing this stuff in 10 years than I was a little bit faster in a race, but then I was injured for a year afterwards, and I couldn't run again. So my training has shifted a little bit this year. Definitely, even though I mentioned doing cross training, I'm like all the little things like the piriformis muscle. There are very
Right.
specific exercises you can do to avoid
Right.
these injuries. They're not fun, but I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm doing all the little things. I would also add, you were talking about nutrition at the beginning, like the nutrition is, I think, important, especially once you're over 50. Um, so working with my coach, definitely like, all right, let's get the since my run volumes went down for a few weeks, like this is a good time to dial in my nutrition,
Right.
to surprisingly, more of like a moderate carb approach. People think of runners and just down in a bunch of carbs, but I think you can do that for a few years, but eventually your body adapts. Like scientists have done experiments on uh, high activity like tribal folks,
Right.
and um, they actually burn the same amount of calories as a sedate, a person who sits at a desk all day, because their body adapts. It gets much more efficient. So this is why that there's so many health benefits of running, is your body becomes really efficient. All of your internal organs, everything, they're like firing on all cylinders.
Right.
So people are shocked, like, oh, you just eat like a normal person. You're not gonna like have a whole pizza. If I had just like ran like 50 miles, I might have a whole pizza afterwards. But actually, you're not really that hungry right afterwards. But no, I'm gonna just eat like a normal person. So kind of dialing in, that were moderate carbs. When I have carbs, it's mostly like before, during, or after a run, and then the rest of the day very moderate. And if it is, it's from um, you know, natural sources like fruit.
Okay.
Try to avoid processed food. Um, I think that's important, especially the older you get.
Yep.
And like you're talking about protein, very high protein. So you need that for muscle repair.
How are you? Are you supplementing, or are you able to get protein without supplementation?
I have done like protein shakes in the past, especially like when I'm busy. That like, hey,
Yep.
it, I gotta get out the door to get to work, so just take a protein shake in the car. I'll usually have some on hand, so they're like, "Hey, I just gotta go," but
Right.
I need. But my preference is like um, Whole Foods. So
Okay.
usually in the morning I'll do like Greek yogurt with fruit, just a little bit of honey to give it some sweetness, and try to stick to real food instead of processed food. Except if you're
Sure.
running. Then once we're running, it's like, hey, gas station burrito, great. I'll eat a gas station. Who cares? It's like whatever I'll eat while I'm running. But
And you don't have
for
any issues like getting nauseous or anything like that, just eating that way during the run? Your body just processes it?
it's, I mean, yeah, it's just like you just need rocket fuel at that point. Like
Okay.
you can, yeah. So like a Coke, like I rarely will drink a Coke, like just sitting around.
Right.
Um, but like in the middle of a race, Coke is magic. Like I've been like laying in a ditch puking. Someone hands me a Coke, I down it, and then I get up and I like start running again. And I'm
Wow.
like, that stuff is such great rocket fuel. But I'm like, if it does that to me while I'm out running, what is it doing to someone who's like sitting on the couch watching TV, drinking a Coke? Like,
I was going to say we had an awesome commercial for Coca-Cola right up until you finished that sentence.
yeah, edit that part out. Coke, I'm looking for sponsors. I'm surprised they don't market it as a sports drink, because it is in a like a long run. A Coke is so amazing.
And it's
But
got to be just the sugar, right?
yeah, there's
Or is it the
something like
carbonation?
there's something with Coke, because I've tried other soft drinks like Pepsi. Like I've had like someone hand me a Pepsi. And Pepsi does not do it. It does not do the same thing. So there's
Wow.
something
Sorry,
with Coke.
Pepsi. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks
Yeah,
for you.
Pepsi for running is just, I mean, it's all right, but like a Coke is magic.
Ugh.
And the other thing
That's
I will
funny.
take is chocolate milk. I don't drink
Okay.
much chocolate milk, but like in the middle of a race where you need like protein and fat, because you're drinking, you're eating a lot of high carbs stuff
Right.
already. Like I'll down a chocolate milk. which people are always like, "How are you doing that? How do you not puke?" It
It
tastes
would
amazing
feel
for you.
like it. Yeah, I was gonna say it
Yeah.
would feel like it, and at the same time, I almost get why you don't. Like I, I've been supplementing with protein. I try to get it in, through food, like you said, with where we are and the way that my diet is. I'm taking a shake an evening, and I've doubled mine into. I also take, I want to say it's 15 grams of fiber with it. So I'm taking a protein shake with fiber, and I use chocolate milk. So I put chocolate milk in
Uh,
there to usually to hide the taste of the kefir because I'm doing kefir
uh,
too, just to get the probiotics. But I'm doing all that stuff. Real quickly, we're right up against when you said, so I want to be cautious of your time. Are you doing a bunch of other supplements? I mean, you said, "Hey, I'm just eating like a normal guy." People are surprised that I'm doing that. Are you taking a multivitamin? Are you doing AG1? Are there other things that you're doing to juice the system?
um, not on a consistent basis. I do some. The one thing I do I found helps for athletes is to take a magnesium supplement right before bed.
Yep.
Um, that's amazing. Have the most vivid dreams. When I started that, I started having like the most amazing sleep of my life because most athletes are low on magnesium.
Right.
So I do that most night. My thing with supplements is, if you look at the meta research of people who use supplements, is that people who consistently use them over long periods actually have higher mortality than people who don't, because they're treating imbalances. And if you do it every day, then you can create the imbalances. Your
Right.
body becomes dependent. So I'll at least skip like 1 or 2 days a week where I don't like. All right, I'm tired. I don't need magnesium to go to sleep tonight because
Right.
I'm really tired. I'm just gonna pick 1 or 2 days. So if I'm creating an imbalance, that gives my body an opportunity to kind of cycle through that. If all that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's good to think of. I do have a few that I take time away from periodically, like ashwagandha as an example, where
Yeah.
I've like listened. Hey, you do need to take time off from this, otherwise. And I don't know always understand the reasons behind it, but I do have a chiropractor who's been a naturopath and sells supplementation, and obviously he's motivated to keep me on supplements as well, but he's helped me to sort of dial in of when you take it morning versus night, and cholesterol medication during the night because that's when your body's doing things, that kind of thing. And yeah, I hear what you're saying. You're doing all the right things, and so you're not doing full supplementation, and it makes sense. We're at the end of the time. I hope you come back again. Anything that you want to shout out while you have the floor?
So yeah. Me and some friends are bringing back a race called the San Diego 200. Um, it's in October. It's a race that only happened once, and me and my friend Alex ended up being the only finishers. Everyone else didn't make it. And so we thought, San Diego is such an amazing place, but most people don't think of it as like an ultra running destination. But
Right.
it's got everything. It's got beach, which everyone thinks of San Diego for, but it's also got mountains. It's got desert. The course goes through downtown San Diego, so you get to see the harbor, look across the bay where the Kitty Hawk was back in the
Yeah.
day. Now it's different
Yeah. Yeah.
aircraft carriers. So we're putting this race on. It's for charity. We're not making any money off of it. So if folks are interested in experienced ultra runners, and they're interested in what we think is the most scenically diverse 200-mile course in North America. That you're gonna get beach, San Diego City, the highlights of San Diego City. You're gonna get San Diego mountains, and then we take it out to the Anza Borrego Desert to finish on the Pacific Crest Trail. I think it's going to be an epic race.
Is it all, hey, all one or nothing? Like you just do the 200, or is there, sometimes you'll see the races where they've got shorter to bring more people in, or are you guys just truly trying to have a homage to this race that just the two of you finished, and therefore, hey, we want to just do this 200 miler?
It's just 200 miles.
Okay.
'Cause we feel like San Diego is one of the premier ultra running destinations in the country, and it should have a 200. So it's one of those things that sounded like a good idea. while we're having a couple of beers, like, hey, let's bring that race back. And then it turns out there's a lot involved in putting on a race. Like we
I would
had so many.
assume. Is there anything that people that are listening to? I know Ronnie put up there, "Hey, check it out." But is there anything that people that are interested in helping you out or want to check it out? Do you have a website or any place that people can gather information?
Yeah. So we have a website, san diego 200.com. Yep,
And
san diego 200.com. You can go
San
check it
Diego.
out, check out the course. Um, we are positioning this as, they call 200s a graduate level race, our graduate level races. We're calling this one a postgraduate level race. Like this is a hard 200
Okay.
because we made the time cutoffs fairly aggressive for a 200, which means you'll kind of you'll always have that pressure of like the clock is ticking. Um,
48 hours. What's a 200? What's a short
yeah, most
200?
200 milers like Moab, I can't remember what the cutoff is. It's like 130 hours. They will most 200 milers the cutoff will be over 100 hours,
Okay.
which means if you want to party pace it, you can stop at an aid station and sleep for like 4 or 5 hours and then get up and go. Ours is only 82 hours, which means you will have to keep your foot on the gas for most of the race. Um, Unless you're a really fast runner, you won't be able to stop and sleep for like 4 or 5 hours.
Okay. I'm excited for you. I'll we put a little thing at the bottom. Yeah, I don't know. For me, I've and I talked about this in another podcast I did. I want to do a 100 miler. I think is where I'm at. I want to not have the pressure to have to run the whole thing. I don't want an 82-hour cutoff is not for me. For me, I was gonna say if you said, "Oh, hey, it's 200 miler and we're gonna do a 200, hour cutoff to allow people like you to do it," that hey, I probably would have flown to San Diego. But I want to do one at some point, and I'm just getting to the point where I know I will injure myself if I start running.
Yeah. There's plenty of 200s where people do it. They hike from the gun to the finish. They hike the whole
Okay.
thing. They just have to make sure not to spend a ton of time at aid stations, but they do it and finish. There's actually a lot of people do it. Some really fast hikers actually who have actually finished pretty far up in the field just because they don't stop. Like they just keep going the whole
It's a
time.
compound interest, right? It's just consistent.
Yeah. So while the fast runners have to stop at an aid station, sleep for 3 or 4 hours, they're there for like 15 minutes and then they're out.
I hear you.
um, so cool. Well, it's really good catching up. Maybe I can do this again in 11 months.
Yeah, we're gonna shoot for 6 months if you're okay
Okay.
with that. But
Yeah, let's
uh,
do it.
excited for October. Thank you for being here. Subscribe to the podcast, and then I think we've put up Gabe's. Yeah, they're right there. Follow Gabe if you're interested in seeing an over 50 year old man beat himself up
Yeah, dude, crazy
consistently.
adventures.
Yeah,
If you want
exactly.
inspiration, then you could do this too. Just watch any of my movies on YouTube.
Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate you.
All right, take care.
Take
Talk
care.
to you
All
later.
right. See you.
Bye.
See you. Bye.